Alright guys, first of all, I want to say I apologize if you hear my dogs in the background. They're wrestling and they're gonna grunt and bark and stuff, so I apologize for the background noise. But what I want to talk about today is Dean Koontz's The Voice of the Night, written by Dean Koontz. Now, he might have written this under another pseudonym. It might have been Brian Coffey. It could have been, thanks James. It could have been Owen West, I'm not really sure. I think it was Brian Coffey for some reason. That just rings a bell more than Owen West does, but those were two of his pen names that he used. He published this one later on. I want to say in like the 90s, but I don't know. Hold on one second. It looks like this. What is it? Berkeley. This one came out in 91. It was originally debuted in the 80s and in 81. But that was under another pseudonym. Oh, here it is. This book was previously published under the pseudonym Brian Coffey. So I was correct. This was written by Dean Koontz under the pseudonym Brian Coffey. This one just says Dean Koontz on it. So what did I think about this book and what do I rate it? I rate this book 4 stars. I wanted to give it 5 stars so badly. You know what? The more I think about this book, the more I liked it. I listened to the audiobook, which usually affects my ratings. So I think if I actually read this book, you know what? I'm just gonna hand this a 5 stars. You know, it was just amazing. I enjoyed a lot of scenes. If you guys read this book, then you'll recall a scene with a train and a truck. I don't want to say anything else. If you read this book, then you know what I'm talking about. That was my favorite scene in this whole book. There was a lot of times where I was like aggravated, you know, because I was aggravated for good reasons. Dean Koontz did a good job at making me aggravated. There's a moment in this book where he tries to tell his mom something and his mom doesn't believe him, and it's really an infuriating scene, but it's a really good scene at the same time. I think Paperback Mania or Maniac, the Paperback Maniac, I think he did a review on this book, and it's perfect. It sums up everything. So let me read the back for you guys real quick, and then I'll tell you more about the synopsis. No one could... Hold on one second. Guys, be quiet. Alright. No one could understand why Colin and Roy were best friends. Colin was so shy. Roy was so popular. Colin was nervous around girls. Roy was a lazy's man. Ugh, I'm talking with a lisp. I'm sorry, guys. Colin was fascinated by Roy, and Roy was fascinated by death. Then one day, Roy asked his timid friend, "Do you ever kill anything?" And from that moment on, the two were bound together in a game too terrifying to imagine, and too irresistible to stop. That synopsis does not even really begin to talk about how much this book's about. Like, this was such a good coming-of-age novel. Like, literally from page 1, they talk about, you know, the first thing they actually say in the book is, "You ever killed anything?" Roy asked. So, the synopsis, like, starts off at the very beginning of the book. There's a lot to this book. So... It's about these two friends, and one friend is like a serial killer in the making, but he doesn't seem like that to other people. To other people, he is just some clever, you know, good high school kid. But to Roy's friend, who figures it out later on in the book, he's a maniac. And yeah, it's totally... He does a great job at making the character look like he's insane, and yeah, this is just a very good book. I don't know what else to say about it, other than how much I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this book a lot. It pulled me in from the very beginning, and I didn't want to stop the audiobook. I know I was supposed to read a ladies first book first, which I am technically still reading. I'm still reading Nest of Nightmares. I've just had a lot of time to listen to audiobooks while I was writing. So I did that, and I very enjoyed it. There's many times where I had to stop everything I was doing just to listen to what was going on in the audiobook. And Dean Koontz does a great job painting an image of insanity, you know. And it's fun to see these boys grow up really fast, especially the main character. I keep wanting to say Dwight, but it's Colin. Colin is like such a dweeb, and definitely not a ladies' man. And Roy, on the other hand, is, and he's like a jock, and everyone at school likes him, and all this other stuff. And Colin is just lucky to be his friend. But later on, you learn that that's not quite true. That Roy has some problems. Very, very quickly you learn this stuff. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I like the way that Dean Koontz writes, or at least he did in this book. There was some awkward scenes, which like had me cringe a little bit. But other than those, I really like the internal dialogue there is inside this book, where he's going back and forth with himself. Like, I listened to the audiobook, so the audiobook did a really good job with that back and forth banter between himself. I liked it a lot. It might have been infuriating to read, but I listened to the audiobook, so it was really fun to listen to. This book, like I said, is going in my top 5 list for my favorite coming of age books. I'm blown away. Honestly, I did not have high expectations for this book or Dean Koontz's writing. Just because of the stigma I see and hear online. Like, I'm always told how bad Dean Koontz's writing is, and it's honestly not true. It's, at least with this book was amazing. I liked it so much. I'm so happy that my friend Edward Lawrence suggested reading this one. Well, he didn't really suggest it, but he posted it on his top coming of age stories, and he had this at like number 4, 3, I can't remember. And I totally see why. It's a really good coming of age novel. Oh geez, that milkshake I ate earlier is really coming back to haunt me. Yeah, it very good story. It's very, like, I don't know, I don't know what to say about it. I don't want to give anything away. You should really read this book. It's one of my favorite coming of age stories. I have to say it's probably just under Boy's Life by Robert R. McCammon. But the more that I think about it, I just liked it so much. Yeah, it definitely has a rememberable ending. I thought things were gonna turn for the worse, and they kind of did, but then they got it. Well, you read the book and you will understand what I'm trying to say. Dean Koontz's The Voice of the Night, such an amazing book. Yeah, there's not much to say other than that. It's definitely a 5-star read. I know I said 4 stars in the beginning of this, but I changed my mind. It's a 5-star read. I think the only reason why I'm trying to rate it 4 stars is because I keep giving these coming of age books 5 stars, and it just can't always happen. But this one is a 5-star read. It makes me want to read more Dean Koontz, that's for sure. But I'm also still very weary of reading him, because I just hear so many awful things about him. So the awful things I hear about him, have to stem from something. But this book was amazing. I thought this book was absolutely fantastic. He does such a good job writing this book. And yeah. So I hope you guys I hope you guys enjoyed this this video, this review. I hope you have a good day and a spooky night, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, guys.